What's up YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. We have a lot of really exciting stuff going on in the fish room. I've recently been getting back into reefing, so I've been a lot more active with my reef club, my local reef club. Shout out Bay Area Reefers. So I've been trading corals with other members. I've been taking care of the tank, doing more maintenance, testing, that kind of thing. And I think the tank looks a lot better compared to a month or two ago. I've also recently set up a Pico 2-gallon reef bowl. I've got a video on that. I'll leave a link in the description below. The bowl is doing really well, no problems so far. I'm also working on setting up another 3-gallon Pico reef tank. More to come on that in the future. I still have my 2 Nano freshwater planted tanks, which are both doing really well. So I'll do an update video on both of those in the future. So the focus of today's video will be doing maintenance on my entire freshwater section of the room, which is just 3 tanks. So we're going to be doing water changes, we're going to be removing algae, we're going to be trimming plants, that kind of thing. So stay tuned. So the first thing we got to do is we got to make some RO water. I use remineralized RO water in all of my freshwater planted tanks. I just think it works out better that way. I've never really tried with tap water though, to be honest. So let's go do that. So we are at my very aesthetically pleasing water mixing station in my garage. We have a bunch of buckets scattered everywhere, but that's okay. So I got the RO going. I make it out of this faucet. It goes through this, I think 5-stage RO unit. It drips into this bucket, and when it's full, the float valve will shut it off. So I'm just waiting for 5 gallons of RO water. While we're waiting for the water to finish being made, I'm going to start with some trimming on this tank, the UNS 40C. So I think we definitely need to trim back the Rotala, the Laguigia, and the Reneki Mini. And I think we could also use, I don't know what I'm saying. I think all of the plants really could use a trim, so we're gonna do it. Even the Monte Carlo. Because if you guys don't know, if you don't trim your Monte Carlo carpet and it gets too thick, it'll be a big pain. It'll start to float up and detach from the substrate, and it just won't look good. So I realized I forgot to turn off the filter before I started trimming, and so now I think a lot of it is getting blown everywhere and sucked into the filter intake, which is not good. So we should probably turn that off. This is like oddly satisfying, just scooping up all of these cut leaves. I don't know why. Super fun. Is it fun? I don't know. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it fun. I found that you have to find ways to enjoy maintenance, otherwise you're not gonna do it. So little things like this help me stay motivated to actually clean my tanks. It's kind of fun though. So to treat this black brush algae that's left over on the moss and the boot leaves, I'm gonna hit it with some hydrogen peroxide in a syringe I have here. I love watching it bubble. That's my favorite part about doing this, is just watching the bubbles rise from the hydrogen peroxide breaking apart into, I think it's water and oxygen. It's super cool. And it's killing algae, which is also cool. I'm also going to add some root tabs for the S. repens here. I just feel like they're looking like they could use some more nutrients that their roots can reach. So I'm gonna try and stuff a few down below their roots. Also going to scrape the glass. I do this every day just to get the film off. It's actually not too bad right now. Looks actually worse over there. I should go get that spot. This is looking pretty clean actually. On the back wall too. Fun stuff. And I use a toothbrush to get the algae off the seams. I'm just a little bit nervous about getting the scraper too close to the silicone because, you know, I don't like water all over my floors. I'm sure you guys don't either. So yeah, toothbrush works pretty well. All right, coming over to the UNS 5N. This tank is pretty new. Honestly, it doesn't need a whole lot of trimming. I just need to trim back these stem plants just a little bit, I think, and then we'll be done. So this one will be a lot easier. One thing I noticed while I was over here is that there's a lot of green spot algae growing on the anubias and booch leaves. So I think they're just getting blasted with a little bit too much light here. So I think what I'm gonna do is try and take them all out and soak them in hydrogen peroxide. It's actually diluted, like 1 part H2O2, 3 parts water. And then put them back in the tank lower so they're not getting so blasted. So let's try that and see how that works out. Okay, got one out. Okay, I got most of them out soaking. I did leave these few over here because I think these ones are probably okay at this level. So I got, I don't know, there's a bunch of them in here. So I'll just let them soak for a few minutes and then we'll put them back lower in the tank. All right, I got the anubias and booch back in the tank, tucked in a little bit lower. And I decided to kind of just let the hydrocotyl tripartita over here just take over because it seems to really enjoy the highlight. So I'm kind of just gonna let nature do its thing. All right, coming over to the UNS 20C now. This tank is pretty new, as I mentioned earlier, so it really doesn't need a whole lot. It doesn't need any trimming. There is some surface film on the top of the water. I think a big water change will fix that. And oh, there is a stem plant. Which kind is this? Okay, the green rotala that needs to be tucked back in. Easy. All right, so now that we got all the trimming and the maintenance out of the way, we're gonna go through and do like a 20 to 30% water change on all 3 tanks. All right, now that we got the water back in, we have to re-mineralize it. So I use this stuff, it's called Shrimp Mineral GHKH. And I add enough of this powder to raise my TDS back to around 120. That's kind of like that's where I like to kind of keep it. Now, time to change the water in these 2 Nano tanks behind me. Cool trick, huh? So I accidentally overfilled this one, so I've got to take a little bit of water out. That's okay, mistakes, they happen. And I make a lot of them. Should be good. So I do the same thing on these tanks. After I fill them with fresh RO water, I remineralize by just pouring a little bit of this into the hang on the back filters. And I kind of know at this point how much needs to go in, and I usually get it pretty close. I realize I actually forgot to prime the filters. So we gotta do that. Go, little buddy, go. Okay, let's see how close I came on the TDS, kind of just eyeballing it. I usually do pretty good. This one is 150. Man, I knew I was gonna screw this up if I videotaped it. I knew I was gonna mess this up on camera, darn. That's okay. What about this guy? 160. Used way too much. No big deal. I'll fix it later. So I had to go through and fix the TDS in all of my tanks. I had overdone it slightly in all of them. So I just diluted it with some fresh RO water. So this one's at 117, 124-ish. Seems pretty good. This one's at 125. And this one's at 134. So I've actually had a really hard time keeping the TDS down in the tank, and I think it's because I use sand here, which is raising the TDS of my water. So if you guys have experience with that or tips on how to keep the TDS a bit lower, aside from doing huge water changes, please let me know. Maybe it's just inevitable. I'd say overall the tanks are looking a lot better, all 3 of them. Although there's still some issues, like in this tank, I still have some really stringy algae. You can kind of see it here. So if you guys have tips on how to get rid of that, I would love to hear it in the comments. It seems like for me it's always grown in the dwarf hair grass. Maybe there's a good way to get rid of it. And then this tank I think still has the surface film issue, which, you know, it's funny because this tank doesn't have it and this one does. And I'm assuming that, again, it's because of the sand, but I'm not sure. But yeah, I think it was a pretty good maintenance session. All the tanks are looking a lot better. All right, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. I sincerely appreciate it. It really helps me as a new YouTuber. Also, if you guys could give me a comment, a like, subscribe, whatever you're willing to give, I would also very much appreciate that. Okay, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.